The History of Labor Management Relations by Constance Barkhouse, Management 2120. 1869 to World War I. The 1860s saw development of the U.S. factory system, improved transportation, and increased product mobility, all factors that extended a company's organization beyond the local community. The Sherman Antitrust Act. Founded in 1890, the Sherman Antitrust Act helps to regulate the increasing power of large corporations to engage in anti-competitive practices, which tend to drive smaller firms out of the market. The Employee at-Will Doctrine. The EAW states that employment relationships established for an indefinite duration may be determined by either the employer or the employee at any time for any or no stated reason. The Knights of Labor. Two major goals of the Knights of Labor are as followed. Change the existing labor management relations so that the depersonalized and specialized aspects of mass production can be avoided, and to attain moral betterment for employees and society. Early legal developments. Commonwealth versus Hunt, 1842. This is when the court concluded it was not illegal for workers to seek to protect their own economic interests in maintaining a desired wage rate, nor was it illegal to refuse to work as a means of encouraging an employer not to hire an individual at a lower wage rate. A yellow dog contract is an agreement stating that they would neither join a union nor assist in organizing one. The Pullman Strike. The Pullman Strike of 1894 assumed significance because of the principal personalities involved and an organization that had the potential to challenge the AFL for union members. The Industrial Workers of the World. William Big Bill Haywood was one of the initial organizers of the IWW. One of the significances of the IWW is that it represented perhaps the most serious effort in U.S. labor history to organize workers on the basis of a radical political ideology. The initial goal of the IWW was to overthrow the existing capitalistic systems by any means necessary, based on the belief that employees and employers had nothing in common. There were four main reasons for the decline of the IWW: the lack of permanent membership and financial base, the inability of the IWW to appeal to members' interests, identification of the IWW with sabotage and violence, and alienation of the news media and government officials. Next, we're going to talk about World War I to World War II. The Mohawk Valley Formula. This approach formulated specific steps that could be used by any employer to defeat an organizing drive or strike action by a union. This formula consisted of the following steps: form citizens' committee, label the union leaders as outside agitators, stir up violence or the fear of violence, report union leaders in meetings, organize a back-to-work movement, and have a back-to-work employees march. Employee representation plan. How do ERPs differ from independent unions? They provide another substitute for an employee-controlled independent union. Employer typically controlled type of subjects discussed with ERP. Independent unions had more autonomy than ERPs. ERPs were usually limited to a single facility, and ERPs did not engage in economics pressure tactics. Rise of the CIO and industrial unionism. Major disagreement occurred within the AFL over organizing and growing numbers of semi-skilled employees in the labor force. Why did union membership increase dramatically in the 1930s and the 1940s? At least 5 factors seem to account for the growth in unionism during this period: strong CIO leadership, CIO's realistic goals, CIO's effective use of sit-down strike, National Labor Relations Wagner Act of 1935, and the changes in employees' attitudes towards favorable views of unions. World War II to the present time. The AFL at first did not want the U.S. to become involved in the World War II. However, this attitude changed after the bombing of Pearl Harbor. The merger of the AFL and CIO. The merger of the AFL and CIO in 1955 was the most dramatic post-war development in organized labor. This merger resulted in the continued reduction of union radiating. It also reduced the influence of union locals within the national unions because they could no longer threaten to affiliate with the rival national organization. A quick summary of this chapter. The active years of organized labor can be grouped into 3 time periods: 1869 to World War I, World War I to World War II, and World War II to the present time. During 1869 to World War I, we discussed the KOL, the AFL under Gompers, and the IWW. The period immediately following World War I saw limited growth in union membership. The emphasis on advancing employees' short-term economics and job security interests have remained focus of organized labor since World War II.